Hey guys, giving away a Nintendo Switch and a free game on the channel this month. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and hit the bell on the video to make sure that you can leave a comment when the video goes live, because you can leave a comment on every single video I upload throughout the month, and it guarantees you at least 31 entries into the competition for the Switch, so make sure that you go and leave as many comments as possible. My good friend Claytano also is giving away a PS4, so if you want to get your hands on that, you can go and check it out on his channel. Right, so today I'm talking about perfect gaming. Now, a perfect game is where you win the game with 100 HP, and I want to talk about the process that I went through to get there, because what I need to be very clear about is that perfect game requires a good mix of luck, good decision making, overall picking a strategy that you know is going to do well in the late game, and generally knowing when to level and when to roll, etc, etc. So, obviously you need the luck to be able to get very early 2-stars, because that sets you up on a good roll to keep that win streak going. But you also need to know when to invest gold into rolling to get those upgrades, and rolling to, or sort of putting the gold into experience to make sure that you keep yourself ahead of the game in terms of levels. So, as you can see here, I locked a very early set of Soul Breakers alongside a God of War. This was a turn 1 lock. Now, you wouldn't usually always lock at turn 1 if you didn't have a 2-cost already offered to you. But I locked 2 Soul Breakers and a God of War because I believe that they are 3 tier 1 or S tier 1-cost units. And if I can get a level 2 Soul Breaker just by finding one more over the course of the next few rounds, that sets me up really nicely for the early rounds, and then I can use that to snowball into a win streak. So that's why I locked the pair of Soul Breakers. I think it's generally worth locking pairs of Soul Breakers and pairs of Sky Breakers for sure. I think those two are very strong 1-cost units. So I generally tend to lock those if I get the opportunity. If there is something else that I want on that lock too, I'll also do that. And you can see here that I've actually come up with a very, very strong set of early picks. And you can see that this is a great turn for me. At the end of round 3, I picked up a pair of Rippers. I picked up a pair of Heaven Bombers. I also have that God Divinity bonus activated for my Soul Breaker and activated for my Ripper. So this sets me up for a really strong early set of rounds, and that is kind of what you need to do. You do need to be fairly lucky in the early rounds to ensure that you're going to win that first round ultimately, and then you can use that to try and snowball and go forth from there. There are a lot of decisions to be made about when to take units and when to level up, and that's something that I'll talk about over the next few rounds in terms of my own decision making. But it is very important to note that perfect gaming is very rare. It's difficult to do, and like I said, does require a good amount of luck to make it work. Now, you're not going to be lucky the entire game, so obviously there are going to be points in the game where you will not be able to maintain your win streak, and that's just going to be due to you not getting the units that you need. But as far as it goes for me, I think there is a good amount of decision making in maintaining a perfect game in terms of item usage, in terms of knowing which units to bring on the field early on to protect your win streaks, knowing when to level up. And interestingly enough, I chose to pick up a pair of Warpwood Sages over going to level 5 in this scenario here. Now, I believe with the level 2 Soul Breaker and the Goblin bonus, as well as having 2 Rippers, I was pretty confident in my ability to beat pretty much anybody that sort of I managed to match up against. And this guy here was probably the second strongest player in the game right now, just because he had a very similar composition to me. I was very lucky that I got 2 big Soul Breakers. 2 big Ripper abilities off that did a lot of damage that round. But it allowed me to win and pick up the Whisper Seer, which is going to allow me to upgrade my Warpwood Sage. Now, Warpwood Sage as a level 1 unit is not so good, but Warpwood Sage as a level 2 unit is actually pretty strong. So that's why I'm keeping him around, because I think adding him to this lineup is not a bad idea. You can see that there is a couple of things going through my mind at this point in time. You can see that I've got the potential to go feathered here. You could see with the fact that I've got Whisper Seer, a pair of Taboo Witches, that there is actually a very real opportunity to very quickly snowball into a 6 feathered composition, which you can do if you're very lucky with your feathered pickups. The other options that I've got is potentially Assassins, because I already have a level 2 Soul Breaker. I have a really good base for a Goblin composition. But whatever the case is, I have a very, very, very strong 4-cost or level 4 comp right now that doesn't really need to go to level 5 as a matter of urgency, because I've got a level 2 Warpwood Sage, I've got a level 2 Soulbreaker, I've got a Heaven Bomber with a pair of Magic Crystals on him, which allows him to generate his mana really quickly. So in general, I'm just outputting a lot of damage, and being level 4 is not a big deal. I just think that I have strong units on the field right now, and I prefer to pick up an extra pair than invest that gold and go to level 5. See, on this round, I now have the extra gold to spend, and I can definitely go to level 5. In fact, actually, there's a lot of stuff here that I can pick up that's going to make me very strong, including a pair of swordsmen. So if I can get that swordsman online, I'm going to have a level 2 swordsman, which, if anybody is aware right now, is probably one of the strongest level 2 units in the game right now, just because his ultimate does insane damage. And I actually have a load of potential upgrades on the field that I could roll for in the future too. I think in general, I'm pretty happy with where my comp is. Like, versus pretty much anybody in the game right now, I'm going to beat them just through the sustain that Warpwood Sage is giving me and the damage that I'm getting from my Soulbreaker. So I'm actually really confident that no matter who I face, I'm going to be beating them. The decision making is going to come down the line here, where I think that if I see anybody catching up to me, or I want to sort of assert my dominance as a sort of the strongest player in the game, I could choose to invest gold into rolling to find the 2-star upgrades that I need, like the, for instance, the Swordman, the Heaven Bomber, the Ripper, or the Taboo Witcher. Now, you actually see me pick up a load of really, really important units here for the composition that I end up thinking about going. I see a pair of Lord of Sands and a Shadowcrawler, as well as another Soulbreaker. So I actually get a lot of stuff that is incredibly important to the composition that I now have direction for, because I picked up core units for an assassin composition. I picked up Shadowcrawler, which is one of the most core units that assassin compositions have, as well as a pair of Lord of Sands, which is also incredibly important. I'm hoping that I decide to sell off the Taboo Witches and pick up the Soulbreaker here, because if I didn't, that was actually a bad decision, because Taboo Witcher doesn't really feature in assassin comps. Neither is Taboo Witcher a particularly good level 2 unit compared to anything else. And so actually I made a bit of an error here, because I would much prefer to field 2 level 2 Soulbreakers over a level 2 Taboo Witcher. So that's one of the issues that I am actually facing now with my own reflection on my gameplay, but irrespective of that, I've still set myself up. Come on, do it, do it, do it, do it. Yes! Wow, we did it. I did it. Thank you, Past Excoundrel. Yes, Past Excoundrel. Yes! You know what's up, my dude. Past Excoundrel is on a tear right now, guys. Past Excoundrel knows what is up. And actually now, I'm feeling confident enough to activate the assassin bonus, because I've got 2 level 2 Soulbreakers, which are both going to benefit from the assassin bonus, making them super strong. And then I actually also take off the Ripper to activate the feathered bonus with the Warpwood Sage. That is just because I want my Shadowcrawler to essentially get a little bit of extra survivability in these fights, especially versus things like warriors. I mean, this guy's already got a Berserker on the field, which is making him actually quite strong. He's also got, I think, 6 warriors. It looks like he's got a 6 warrior comp right now, which makes him one of the strongest people in this game, which is a little bit disconcerting for me, because whilst I have got a strong comp, 6 warriors is pretty good at dealing with assassins, especially when they haven't got too many level 2 upgrades. So it is something to be a little bit worried about. And in terms of knowing when and where to invest my gold, warriors are definitely going to be an issue for me as this game goes on. But I think it was a good decision overall activating the the feathered bonus, because I just think that extra little bit of survivability from my Warpwood Sage and from my Shadowcrawler is actually really important. So you can see here, I'm actually pretty confident with my composition right now, and I'm essentially saying, okay, I don't really think that I need the goblins anymore. I think I'm kind of past the point where the goblins are going to become relevant for me. So I'm going to give the items that I've got, or at least some of the items that I've got, over to my current units, and I'm going to sell off those goblins to get up to a 10 gold threshold. I'm still on a 100% win streak here. I've got a level 2 Lord of Sand, which is a very powerful unit, very tanky as a is a very tanky unit in general, and I also actually ended up picking up a lot of defensive items from my Warpwood Sage, which is actually insane, by the way. Getting this early armor and magic resist on my Warpwood Sage, especially when I've got especially when I've already got a feathered bonus activated, is actually incredibly good. So I could actually go for 6 assassins here, simply because I've got the option of picking up Venom and going for 6 assassins very early on. there is a kind of a thought process where that actually might be a more powerful move than what I've got on the table already, but it's a little bit of a difficult line to balance, because I don't think I'd ever want to include Venom in my late game composition, because he's not a particularly good assassin unless you've got mana generation on him. But he is like an assassin that I've picked up, and I haven't actually found myself an Abyssal Crawler at all. I think I saw one Abyssal Crawler right at the start of the game, and if you don't know, Abyssal Crawler is one of the most powerful late game assassins, especially if you get head to level 3. Because she just has that ability to go into stealth, and she becomes innately tanky just because she's able to regenerate loads of HP throughout the fight. But irrespective of that, I still have the assassins to choose from right now. And going up to level 7 on round 13 gives me the ability to essentially put on whatever unit that I want. Now with assassins, what you generally tend to find is every level upgrade up to level 8 is going to be meaningful, because you're going to bring on something that directly empowers your composition. Every assassin, even at level 1, benefits from the critical strike bonus that the assassin's bonus gives you. So bringing on a level 1 assassin is usually going to be more powerful than bringing on a level 1 unit of any other composition if it's not activating another bonus, because they're all going to benefit from that really powerful offensive the offensive bonus that you get when you run the assassin in general. So that's why it's okay if you're snowballing with assassins to just go crazy on those level upgrades, because almost all the time you're going to have a meaningful unit to bring onto the field. Even if it's level 1, it's going to have an impact because it can get that critical strike, dealing a lot of damage in the fight. So I'm actually still in a really strong position. What I do need to be aware of is the fact that I am looking for a level 2 Shadow Crawler as a matter of priority. Having a level 2 Shadow Crawler is going to massively empower my composition in general, because if you don't know, Shadow Crawler gets an assassin type critical strike chance as part of her kit passively. So you combine that with the sort of the innate assassin critical strike bonus, and she becomes just very, very powerful overall. And you can see here that I decided to get rid of my Whisper Seer and activate the 6 assassin bonus, which I think overall increases my power more so than just having that extra random level 2 Soulbreaker on the field. Now there are a couple of things that I could do here. I could actually roll, because I don't really have much gold to work with anyway. And to be honest with you, rolling at this point would help me maybe secure a level 2 Water Spirit, it would help me maybe secure a level 2 Venom, and all of those things would actually massively improve my chances of maintaining a win streak over the next few rounds. The other option, which is the option that I decided to take on this round, is actually just preserve my gold and build a gold lead back up towards 50. That is the safer option. Now, a lot of people are playing the game. You may notice that you'll see a lot of people staying around level 7 or level 8 and rolling extensively in the early game, not playing for that 50 gold mark, and essentially just looking for upgrades over and over again. It's a riskier way to play, but it is high risk, high reward. And so the two schools of thought that I could have had from this scenario was, right, I could essentially go to level 7, then roll down to 0 and look for a couple of upgrades, or I could build back up to 50. Now, if I were super keen on protecting my perfect game here, I probably would have rolled down. But in my mind, I was like, well, okay, look, I want to play to win. So the safer option for me is if I lose, I still want to have a good gold amount to work with if I eventually end up losing a round. So that's why I made the decision that I did here, in terms of building my gold economy back up. Because it was essentially, I was predicting my loss before it may have happened. I was basically saying, if I do end up losing a round, at least I'll have a really good economy so that it won't matter that I've lost the round. If I wanted to protect my win streak 100%, I could have taken the risk and rolled down for a level 2 Water Spirit and a level 2 Venom, and that would have massively improved my overall chances of maintaining my win streak and maintaining my position in this game. So it's basically swings and roundabouts. You have different options to choose from when it comes to maintaining a win streak of this sort, but I chose the safer option of building back up towards 50 gold. And actually, for the Wolf round, I was just pretty pegged on just putting in the level 2 assassins again, just saying, okay, well, having 2 Lord of Sands in the Wolf round is good, having 2 level 2 Soul Breakers in the Wolf round is good, we don't need the 6 assassin bonus, let's just run with what we've got. Which I don't think it would have made too much difference. I think I was going to beat this round whatever happened, but I just felt safer with the 2 Lord of Sands here, just providing a lot of CC for neutral rounds. Lord of Sands are actually just insane on neutral rounds, and you'll find that in God comps they're incredibly good too. They're just a very, very good unit overall because they provide so much CC to the team. Luckily enough, I actually ended up picking up a Frantic Mask for my Shadowcrawler, which is a really good base to start with in terms of stacking your Shadowcrawler up in terms of damage. One of the things that Assassin comps and Feathered Assassin comps really benefit from is itemization on your Shadowcrawler, because she is the one that's going to output the highest damage. She's going to get you the one-shot crits that will just delete enemy backlines. So she's the one that you generally tend to stack damage on. I sometimes split a little bit of damage out between her and Shining Assassin in a Mage comp, because I often want to beat Mage comps. But yeah, that's the kind of the decision-making process there. Really interestingly, I found loads of core units for my composition on this round, including then also finding a Strange Egg to give myself the Razor Claw. And actually, this means that... well, actually, I went a bit crazy, actually. And this is where I started rolling quite extensively, by the way. This is where I was like, okay, well, I've actually found a load of good upgrades. Let's just start rolling and sort of build a really, really strong comp from this point forward. And you can see that actually the rolling paid off. So I just rolled a little bit later than I would have done normally. But realistically, it was a good decision to make overall. So I'm judging on what to sell here, by the way. I actually ended up selling the Soulbreaker. I think, in hindsight, I would have ended up selling the Unicorn, because I probably would have been better off finding a Unicorn, and I didn't need the level 3 Warpwood Sage just yet. It wouldn't have made too much of a difference. But I end up selling off the Soulbreaker. The thought process in my mind is that the Soulbreaker is probably going to go anyway. He never usually features heavily in my late game Assassin builds, so I don't need to get him to level 3. I probably could just replace him for some other level 2s eventually. But I haven't actually found an Abyssal Crawler yet, so actually having a level 3 Soulbreaker in over an Abyssal Crawler is an acceptable replacement until I find the Abyssal Crawler. And even then, it's then getting my Abyssal Crawler to level... even then, it's like getting my Abyssal Crawler to level... what's the word I'm looking for? Getting my Abyssal Crawler to level 3, which will be the important part. So you can see here that I actually end up getting rid of my Phantom Queen just for the time being. I'm putting in my Shining Assassin, which gives me one of my powerful late game assassin units because she's just obviously incredibly strong. I also then find my level 3 by finding the Whisper Seer. And now the whole point of this game now is going to be going towards level 8 as soon as physically possible. I give the mana generation over to my Shining Assassin because that makes her able to generate her shield much more readily. And now I just basically think we're almost unbeatable. We have the feathered bonus on my level 3 Warpwood Sage at round 17. We have a Frantic Mask Shadowcrawler. We have a level 2 Razor Claw to bring on pretty soon, as well as having loads of other level 2 assassins. We just essentially need to go to level 8 as soon as physically possible. I'm not going to be able to achieve that early, because I rolled pretty extensively. I'm going to have to wait until round 21 at least to get to level 8. I might even have to wait a little bit further than that, depending if I find any good picks. But overall, you know, we're in a very, very, very comfortable spot as an assassin composition here. The ideal upgrades for me in the future would be getting rid of Venom and maybe putting in my Phantom Queen. It would then be getting a level 3 Shadowcrawler. It would be maybe getting rid of Soulbreaker for Abyssal Crawler as well, but Soulbreaker is so close to level 3, which makes it a little bit painful to do so. So you saw that I basically used a lot of my gold to secure really important upgrades for my team, and that's something that you wouldn't usually do unless you're on such a big win streak. Because when you're on such a big win streak, it's like you've got 30 gold at all times. You're actually just getting 3 extra gold per round than you would have been usually. So even if you roll down to 0, it's like you have 30 gold on a round-by-round basis. And then by the time that you get back to 30 gold, it's like you've got 60 gold, and by the time you get to 50 gold, it's like you've got 80 gold. That's how much interest that you're getting on a round-by-round basis, which means it's okay to roll down to 0 gold, because you're going to build that economy back up incredibly quickly. Like, if you're at 0 and you're on a +3 win streak, if you win, you get 6 gold plus the 5 gold base, and then you get 3 gold, so you immediately get 9 gold. Then the next round, you'll go up very quickly towards 20 gold, and so on and so forth. And you can see that by the time I'm actually getting to the neutral round, I'm back at 30 gold. And that's why you should never be afraid, if you're very strong and looking for direct upgrades, to roll when you've got a big win streak. Use that gold advantage, take pieces out of the pool before anybody else can, and look for those core units in your composition. Because now I'm going to go into round 19 and round 20, roll to level 8, bring on a level 2 Razor Claw, which activates the Beast bonus, and in general, I have gotten a ridiculously good composition. The only things that could be going slightly better for me in this scenario would be getting a level 3 level 2 Shadow Crawler, and maybe finding, like I said, some of those replacements for my assassins, because I don't really have the ideal assassin comp here. There are other assassins that I would prefer in this situation. But overall, I'm really happy. The other thing that you're going to notice is that a lot of people by round 20 have got low HP. That's because when you've got a 100% player in the game, they usually deal a lot of damage to the person that they're beating. So whenever I face someone in this game, I'm usually dealing a lot of damage to them, which is reducing their HP by a significant margin. You can see the Abyssal Crawler just hovering here on the side. I think the correct decision is to sell the Soulbreaker and start investing in the Abyssal Crawler now, which is what I do. I think that was a good decision, Excoundrel. Well done. The Soulbreaker in general, he's not a bad level 3 unit, but he falls off massively compared to other assassins in the game. My ideal composition would be then getting a level 2 Phantom Queen, selling the Venom, because I don't have any mana generation for him, getting a level 2 Abyssal Crawler and putting him on over the Soulbreaker. And that brings me into the ideal assassin composition. Sorry, just taking a drink. I don't really need to talk about the neutral rounds because, to be honest with you, they're not that difficult. I find Akira Axe, which is incredible for my Warpwood Sage. I actually end up using the Ring of Life to make the Magic Resist or Magia Resist cloak on my Warpwood Sage. That is simply because there isn't any kind of unit that, apart from Razorclaw, benefits massively from having a Orb of Refresh. And I already gave my mana generation over to my Shining Assassin. So you can see here I'm going to roll all of my gold away to look for specific upgrades. That is because I want to find a level 3 Razorclaw ASAP. Unfortunately, this rolling didn't go particularly well, except for finding a Shadow Crawler, and that's okay. Like, to be honest with you, it's completely fine to roll when you're this far ahead, because like I said, it's going to take me a matter of a few rounds to build this advantage back up. I'm in a little bit of an awkward scenario right now, because I have an Abyssal Crawler in the shop, but I don't really have much bench space to work with, and that's one of the problems that you might find when you're playing Assassins. Bench space is a commodity that is very difficult to get a hold of. Because you are trying to 3-star so many things at the same time. So here I'm trying to 3-star my Razorclaw, and unfortunately I just don't have the space for my Abyssal Crawler to come in. So that's why I've just been a little bit miffed, and I find another one here, so I'm like, okay, look, let's just try and find another Abyssal Crawler. I then find the Lord of Sand, and this makes everything really awkward. And actually I end up saying, okay, well, maybe I just run with Venom this game and take out Phantom Queen. I actually think overall Phantom Queen is better, but I decided to run with Venom in this scenario simply because I thought it was a better choice. I'm going to lock this board because, quick, I hope that, yeah, okay, I think the Lord of Sand comes off just automatically anyway, which is good. No, I took off the Shadow Crawler. That's awkward. Which actually gets rid of my 6 Assassin bonus, and I'm also going up against a very strong warrior, kind of summoner beast unit player, which actually is very scary because I got rid of my 6 Assassin bonus, and I'm getting very close to losing this one, which is a little bit awkward if you ask me. This could have gone very awkwardly wrong from a very simple mistake, but luckily the Razorclaw is going to help me free up a load of space on my The Razorclaw is going to help me free up a load of space on my bench because I can sell off all the rest of the druids and now can start working towards the proper units here. So this is something that does become a little bit awkward when you're playing. It becomes a little bit awkward when you're playing Assassins. The bench management is incredibly difficult to get to grips with. And if I'd found a level 2 Phantom Queen, I would have sold my Venom and brought a Phantom Queen on instead, but I didn't. I actually ended up finding the Abyssal Crawler, which I now think is good enough to take the Soulbreaker off for. And now I have like almost the ideal composition that I want for Assassins. Like I said, I would prefer to have a Phantom Queen over a Venom, but realistically, I actually don't think Venom's even that bad anymore. It's just the fact that his mana generation is so slow. He really does need mana generation items to work properly, because you can see that the fight's already over and he hasn't even cast his ability, whereas with Phantom Queen, that's much less, that happens much less, basically. So I'm beating pretty much everybody in the game right now with my level 3 Razorclaw. The game is very much going to come down to finding 3 stars at this point. So there isn't really much point in me building massive economies because other than getting the free gold, I'm basically building an economy to roll down. I'm building an economy to roll down almost every time. I'm going to be looking to get a 3-star on my Abyssal Crawler, a 3-star on my Shadow Crawler, and a 3-star on my Lord of Sand, which is very close to being 3-star. And in general, I feel like I'm in a super strong spot overall. You can see that because I'm so far ahead in terms of win streaking. A lot of this comes down to just trying to protect as much as I can in terms of win streaks. I find a couple of extra bits for a water spirit and an abyssal crawler, but again, still no level 3 shadow crawler. So I think I'm mostly being carried right now by my razor claw, and also my pretty stacked warped sage. I actually don't think my assassins themselves are that strong at this point in time, but luckily I have a very, very good front line, which buys me a lot of time versus most of the players in this game. I don't have a particularly stacked shadow crawler. I don't have a particularly stacked set of assassins. I don't have the optimal assassin composition, but I am rolling pretty heavily to try and make sure I activate some of the strong parts of my comp, which is obviously getting those level 3s on the board. And that's generally what you should do versus most when you're playing assassins in general. You should be level 8 and looking to roll extensively. Not only will maintaining my win streak be good for me in terms of income, as you can see, it's also good in terms of putting pressure on the other player's HP totals. This is what happens when you protect a win streak. You are much stronger than players in the game. They actually take more damage per turn overall, which puts them down at a much lower HP value, which means that the game is more likely to end quickly, which also means that you don't need to invest a crazy amount into getting 3 stars or going up to level 9 and so on and so forth. You basically take it as it comes. This game doesn't look like it's going to go the length where I'm going to be finding like ridiculous numbers of 3 stars in this game. I'm not going to be getting a 3-star shadow crawler unless I get very lucky. I'm not going to be getting 3-star abyssal crawler and 3-star water spirit unless I'm getting very lucky, or someone else steps up in terms of strength and ends up sort of keeping the game going for a considerable period of time. Remember, when you're 100%, anybody that you face, you're usually always going to beat, unless they start ramping up in strength on their own screen. Anybody that you face in general is going to be taking a lot more damage because you are just that strong. And you can see that we're at round 25, and the closest HP to me is actually going to be 45, which is usually not this bad. But this is what happens when you have one person that's absolutely dominating. This is generally the way it goes. So I basically, again, I'm just in a situation where I could keep rolling, looking for 3 stars, looking for my 2-star Shining Assassin, build an economy, and then just build that economy to then roll down with. It's kind of like, it doesn't really matter which way you look at it. Both of them are very viable options. I think overall it's okay to save for 2 or 3 rounds and then roll that down. That's probably, given the amount of gold and the amount of win streaking that I've got, that's probably the best option overall, is just to wait for 2 or 3 rounds, then roll down again, wait for 2 or 3 rounds, and then roll down again. Especially when I'm looking for a Lord of Sand to get a Lord of Sand 3, I'm looking for Shining Assassins to get Shining Assassin 2. Just getting some of these core upgrades would be really helpful in protecting my win streak overall. Now, because I'm assassins, I'm not going to get to level 9. I'm going to focus on just getting 3 stars, like my 3-star Lord of Sand here, which is a massive upgrade for me overall because he just becomes insanely tanky, does a lot of damage, and his ultimate is incredibly powerful. So that's my first 3-star. My next 3 stars are likely going to be either Water Spirit or Abyssal Crawler, just depending on what I've got. But obviously, I really want to get a 2-star Shining Assassin as well because that massively upgrades my chances versus a lot of different compositions. So again, I'm just going to save for 2 or 3 rounds, roll it down, save for 2 or 3 rounds, roll it down. A lot of this game has been about knowing when to roll and knowing when to save the gold for upgrades, knowing at which point to save gold for upgrades, etc. I think, realistically, there were points where I could have maybe gone a bit more aggressive on the leveling strategy, but I also then in reflection used that gold to roll more aggressively to find major upgrades. So it just comes down to sort of upgrading versus leveling, and this is what you'll see a lot of people do in the current meta. They will use their gold, especially when they're on a win streak, to just roll it down and continue to find incredibly powerful upgrades for their team. It's actually how you see a lot of people end up with level 3 warriors very early on, is because they just roll it down looking for those warriors as much as possible. So again, you can see I've got this round, next round, and then I'm going to a neutral round. So actually, if I were to play this game perfectly, I think what I could do is just win this round, win the next round, go into the neutral round, and then use all of that gold to roll it down and look for 3 stars, or at least look for a 2-star on my Shining Assassin. That's probably how I would look to play it from now. We'll see if I do play that. I can't actually remember this game. I do remember this game, but not the fine details. So if I were to then approach this game differently, or approach this game from this situation, I would say, okay, my best scenario here is essentially roll it down, after the neutral round, because I think that's when you're going to have the most gold income. You're going to get a massive amount of interest to work with as well, and that will also give you the best chance of finding the important 3 stars. You can see the guy who's second to me has got a very powerful warrior composition, and actually is in a situation where he's actually pretty close to beating me. I think the other assassin player actually ended up beating me, and that's the first time I think anybody beat me in this game. Luckily, I ended up finding a shining assassin and an egg, which has given me the 2-star upgrade. But again, I don't need to roll here. I think I win this round, I then get to the neutral round, and then I roll after that. That's kind of a small economy trick that I like to think about. When you're in a situation when you don't have any burning upgrades, or you have a really good HP total, but you do want to either roll it down or invest gold into leveling, if you're 2 rounds from a neutral round, wait until after the neutral round and then roll it down. It just gives you a little bit extra gold to work with, and I think it's usually the best way to play the game overall. You can see, actually, assassins generally do very well versus hunters. You have to have, like, a very stacked mana item siren to even stand a chance against assassins when you're playing hunters, or you have to have a very powerful backline. I think if you're just running with, like, kind of basic hunters at level 2, you're going to really start to struggle. You can see here that I'm actually looking for an Orb of Refresh. The only really viable target for an Orb of Refresh on this composition is going to be Razor Claw, but unfortunately I gave my Magica Crystals to other units beforehand. Not that I think Razor Claw would be, like, a ridiculous upgrade, but I do think that Razor Claw overall is the best unit for a... What are you doing, Excoundrel? Sorry, I just realized I'm rolling on the neutral round. That's really bad. What am I doing? Why would I roll on the neutral round? What is going on, bro? What's going on? You can see I don't buy the Venom. That's because I like to focus on, like, 2 to 3 3 stars at any one time. I like to make sure that I focus on 2 to 3 3 stars at any one time. Just because otherwise your bench space just gets insanely overcrowded. I actually do find the Orb of Refresh, by the way. I find the Orb of Refresh on my Shining Assassin, which means I'm just going to have a Shining Assassin that basically becomes invulnerable for a very long period of time. I also actually end up giving the magic immunity over to my Warpwood Sage. Not particularly the best target for it. Obviously would have been good on my Shadow Crawler, but yeah, it makes very little difference. So yeah, Excoundrel, don't do what you just did, which was roll on the neutral round. You would have been much better off rolling after the neutral round, and it's basically false positives when you end up finding the units that you need on the neutral round. You basically, I probably thought after that, I was probably like, hey, I found the units, so this is worth it, but that could have happened on any round that I rolled. It was just so much. It was just the case that I managed to find them on that particular round. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm now just getting a ridiculous amount of items, and again, I could actually put an Orb of Refresh onto my Abyssal Crawler as well if I wanted to here. I actually sell off my Abyssal Crawler to get the Orb of Refresh onto my... Oh, that's clever. That's clever, Excoundrel. Well done. That's actually a pretty good move, because you know that this game isn't going to go that long. Yeah, I like this. This is a good move from me. That sounds stupid, doesn't it? Well done, making a good move. But yeah, this is actually a pretty good move from me, getting the Orb of Refresh on my Razor Claw, because I'm not going to get the 3-star Abyssal Crawler before this game is over, and I think just getting the Orb of Refresh onto my Razor Claw is going to give me a much better outcome overall. You can see the strange egg there. I don't think I'm going to end up using it. I think I'm going to beat this guy over the course of 2 rounds, so I either need to get really lucky and find 2 Shadow Crawlers, like, instantaneously, or I'm just not going to be able to get the chance to upgrade these guys to level 3. Yeah, he's down at 1 HP. I basically have 1 round to get a level 3 Shadow Crawler, which probably means selling off everything but the Shadow Crawler, and then hoping that I get really lucky with the rolls. So let's see if I get lucky. That's not lucky. That's not lucky. That's not going to help me. And no, didn't get lucky with the rolls. But we are probably going to win this game. He didn't get any upgrades. I've got a level 3 Lord of Sand and an Orb of Refresh on both my Shining Assassin and an Orb of Refresh onto my Razor Claw, which basically means that this game's over. So this game ended around 33. Pretty quick for a game of autochess, if I'm completely honest with you. We didn't even make it to the Black Dragon King, which is something that I'm pretty used to seeing, to be honest with you. But I also basically wanted to show you how you can snowball a game just by heavy rolling, aggressive rolling strategies, knowing when to level, knowing what upgrades are important, what units are good to put items on, and in general, that was just a really, really solid game from us. And I think actually getting the level 3 Warpwood Sage and the level 3 Razor Claw is what gave us a massive, massive power increase in this game, which is awesome. I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and I will see you very soon.